Hey everyone, and welcome to Ink Spotlights from Comix Wellspring. This is the series where we shine the spotlight on immensely talented creators who print with us. Today, we're joined by Tony Fero to talk about some of his projects, his journey, and a little bit more. Welcome to the show, Tony. Good catching up with you and good seeing you since Heroes Con. Tell us about your projects.
Well, I've got like basically four different titles that I've kind of work on. I've been that I've been doing over the years, and I've got my main title that I is kind of like my pet project is called 21st Century: A Big Spider, and it's like a kind of a superhero spoof sort of comedy sort of thing, um, which is my favorite thing to do. Turns out it's my least popular thing, but I
As
love it,
always,
so I'm gonna keep
I, f-
doing
I feel like
it.
that's like all of our precious ones are sometimes the ones I'm just like, nobody gets it yet.
Yeah,
You guys
right.
are, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's just it's a lot of fun to work on. You know, it's kind of just a bunch of characters that I can just have a lot of fun with. You know, and I can kind of plug them into any sort of situation, any sort of genre or situation, you know. Um, and and then I've got a book called Ulf Maverick, which is a sort of an homage to the sort of '80s black and white, sort of grim and gritty, violent vigilante comics.
Nice.
I've done a couple issues of that. Um, I have a comic called Monster Youth, which is about an '80s uh, punk rock band who get into sort of adventures and fight monsters and stuff like that. Um, and and then I have a character called Randy Tucker, who is just kind of a. This is also an '80s. These all sort of take place in the '80s for
Yeah.
some reason. I guess that's when I grew up. So you know, I tend to use that as a background. Um, Randy Tucker is about a guy who's kind of a you know, metalhead stoner who's just happens to be a complete badass, you know, kung fu kind of guy, and
Love that.
he fights monsters, and there's a lot of monster fighting going on. That seems to be my milieu, you know.
Yeah. I love that
But
though.
yeah,
I
that's
mean, like also using that 80s theme, like it has a certain flavor to it in general. You know what I mean? By choosing that time period. I think,
yeah,
choosing 80s and then even 90s, you feel like things just feel a little cheesy in the 90s, like very CW like whenever you base stuff in that era. And like the 2000s is just like a weird, mixture of modern times in general since the 2000s began. So like when you
yeah,
choose that 80s formula, I feel like you're like cementing a nice tone, a setting, like it's almost like when you do like a period piece, like you know what you're like investing in, and you kind of go for, or people get gravitated towards that era. Just like if
yeah,
you did something in the 60s or 70s, there's a certain sense of like choosing those decades that really elevate a lot of stories.
yeah, and it also creates it causes the stories to be a little bit simpler in some ways. In that, you know, you don't have to worry about any of the like social media stuff or cell phones or anything like that. You
Mhm.
know, it's just everything is like happening in real life. You
Yeah.
know, or
Yeah, there's no like, type of thing where like, why didn't they just call somebody? Or, their phone would
exactly
track them and do the, and they're just like, no, no, get rid of all that. Like it gives you a
right.
sense of like actual survival, I guess, in some of these scenarios, like what
Yeah.
would you do without any of that? I love that. What got you, with these stories, you have a big plethora of work, you have, four titles and they all have some advancement on them. What got you to start creating and start developing all of these?
Um. You know, I don't know. I think it, honestly, I've been trying to do comics for most of my life, and I was never able to really finish anything. Because there was always a barrier of like, what am I going to do when I finish this? You know, how am I going to publish this? You know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until fairly recently, within the last 10 years or so, where you know print on demand and things like that, and made self publishing a possibility. Um, so that was really the impetus for getting anything out there, was just the fact that I was able to actually do it, without having to put out thousands of dollars to get thousands of copies printed that I may or may not sell.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's growth behind that too. It's that urge to do it, but finding the accessibility and making it real. That totally makes
Right.
sense. And I guess that's kind of cool. Like what I love hearing that, especially as a printing company, that we help give the capability to a creator to at least just get out there and make their ideas come to life.
Right.
And that's the
Right.
biggest reward we have just doing these type of things for people. Well,
Absolutely. Yeah.
where can people find your work? And are you going to be doing anything in 2025 con wise that you're already planning out?
Um, yeah, I'm definitely planning on doing Heroes Con again. Um, and I will be at independent creators, independent comics creator con.
Oh, cool.
Whether or not I have a table is still up in the air, because I
Oh,
kind of missed the deadline, but I'm on the list. So
ooh,
we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to be there in either way.
nice. I'll be there no
Um,
matter what too. Yeah, so I'm hyped to see
yeah.
you there.
So
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, even if I have to, like, share a table with somebody, I mean, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But I'll be there. But that's pretty much all I got planned, as far as cons, so far. Those are pretty much the main cons that I focus on, because I've kind of I mean I've found my niche as far as an independent creator, and I think that those are the cons that have the best focus on indie creators, that, as far as I can tell.
yeah,
Um,
hands down.
and I've kind of stopped doing like these big mainstream pop culture cons, because I just don't feel like the audience is there, for indie comics. So
Not the
um,
first one to say it, not the last, and I feel you on that a whole bunch too.
yeah,
You get lucky at some of those cons now. Like if anything, it's
right,
pure luck. It's hard to mixture in, and I think that's why IC3 really makes such a big impact, because it's so indie focused and it's so
yeah.
100% on the creator, and it gives us all a chance to breathe and find an audience, in that crowd.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was, yeah. I mean, I was there the first year, and it was, I mean, it was, for a con that small, it was incredible how well I did. I mean, I think, I sold more at that con than I did at, cons, 10 times the size.
wow,
It
that's
was,
awesome.
I mean, people were there to support indie comics, and they were there for that express purpose, and that was great. You know,
Love that. Dude, that's great. I hope to see you there. Super
yeah,
rad, because it's such a great convention. And I know Matt's planning some great stuff for this upcoming year. And we'll be
yeah,
doing some fun of, kind of audience building, fan building things there too, to really get people heading to table to table. So super hyped to get you involved in some of that as well once the plans start
sweet.
developing. But cool, awesome. Where can people find your work other than conventions?
The best place is my online store, which is rubberwolf .bigcartel.com, and you can order anything, any of my books there from there, and pretty much everything. I try to keep pretty much everything in print, so it's available.
Brad, awesome. We'll have all those links here in the bio as well, so people could check it out. I hope everyone heads over to those links, because Tony is such an awesome creator. Seeing your work at Heroes made me so excited. Once I realized that we were doing this interview today, I was like, all right, cool. My day's going to end really rad. So I'm just
Thanks.
super happy to see you, super happy to talk to you again. And I can't wait to pick up more copies of your books next time I see you, because you just do some cool stuff, dude. I really love it. I really respect it. So happy for
Thanks, I
you, and
appreciate it.
so excited for everything. So thanks for stepping in the spotlight today, Tony.
Yeah,
And I
thanks for
hope
having me.
we'll definitely get you on the long form show soon. Super hyped to just see everything else you're coming out with very soon as well.
Excellent, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.